We're going to take some time now to look at the Battlestar Galactica comic book series. It was based on the television show. It actually started in March of 1979 through January of 1981. Marvel Comics was known for picking up a lot of licenses, and that was because of Roy Thomas. He realized that you need to draw more people into comic books because sales for comics, believe it or not, in the 1970s were dipping. So Marvel was earnestly looking for other people who would get involved, other fans, I should say, to latch on to comics. Especially this was a big deal when they were bringing in Conan from Robert E. Howard. They ended up getting other movie licenses like Planet of the Apes, TV licenses. Marvel was expanding in the 1970s. And because of the popularity of Star Wars, again, that goes to credit Roy Thomas, they picked up the Star Wars license before the movie even came out. So, believe it or not, at that time, comic books were coming out before the actual production of either a TV show or a movie at times, and Star Wars was no exception. And so, let's look at some Battlestar Galactica comics, actually the entire series that was popular in the late 70s to early 80s. So just for the sake of context, this is Battlestar Galactica number 1, cover date March 1979. This was the Star Wars comic that was on the newsstand at that same time. Star Wars was at issue number 21, and what I liked about this era is because if you were a kid during this time, you liked both. You loved the fact that Star Wars had an awesome line of action figures. You loved the movie, but Battlestar Galactica had that kind of Star Wars feel, that big budget feel on the TV screen. So it was something that you could watch every week. Back of the comics are both the same, and this was standard for that time period. Ads are the same interior as well. This one advertising Invasion of the Body Snatcher starring Leonard Nimoy. So if we look through the comic, Roger McKenzie handles the script, Ernie Colin the artwork, and this series, essentially, this first 3 issues, is an adaptation of the pilot episode. Notice in small print on top, based on the first episode of the television series Battlestar Galactica, written and created by Glenn Larson. Now, what's interesting about this is that Marvel Super Special came out with a adaptation. So Marvel Super Special was a magazine-sized comic book, but that came out before the series. Remember I said that Star Wars was like that, other series like that. Once they got the license, they worked off of the script, and then they produced the comic book. Well, they realized that they got some things wrong. Something was lost in translation. And so if you compare the Marvel Super Special to this comic book, there are some pages that are different. And the reason being is, well, some of the characters, the actors, look different than the artist thought that would fit for the script. What I especially like about this comic is the fact that the coloring is so unique. Not only is it vibrant where it needs to be, but it's tonal where it needs to be as well. Maybe you want to talk about the 70s, this is it. Check that out. Shogun Warriors, Linda Carter, Kiss, Farrah Fawcett. Now, Marvel Super Special made Colonel Ty white, Caucasian. They corrected it to make the character look like Terry Carter. Classic advertisements. Battlestar Galactica toys were already out by this time. I would spend hours reading and rereading all these little ads like this. Sending away for Charles Atlas. Sending away for stamps. I loved getting mail as a kid. Again, look at the tonal coloring on this. You get the feel of you're inside of a spacecraft. Love the ads. Spider-Man pens. My brother and I loved this type of stuff as kids. Pizzazz magazine, they advertise that a lot. It's a big difference of ads of yesteryear compared to now. Like when I was a kid, I was like, man, maybe I could be a draftsman. Maybe I could learn how to be a diesel mechanic. There was the era of that people wanted to be something, reached out to something, especially to kids. In-house advertisement for other Marvel comics. I always thought this guy looked like Thor. This is true artwork right here. Just look at how the face is depicted, the coloring on it, the shading. Hostess ads. The story continues, issue number 2. And we're still seeing these taglines underneath, giving credit to Glenn Larson. And I like the fact that they have 2 different fonts. I think this is the more dynamic of the 2, but this one sets the tone for the interior. Jim Shooter was the editor at this time, and so he was obviously very involved in picking up these licenses. Just like Roy Thomas did beforehand, he saw the need to expand comic book fandom beyond superheroes. And if you were a kid during this time, we loved it all. We loved superheroes, we loved science fiction. I love this perception up here. Look at how different Baltar looks in the comics. And if I'm not mistaken, Baltar is bald in the initial adaptation that was in Marvel Super Special. They just added hair. They didn't change the character's face. I think this cover is beautiful. I mean, Cylons were the big deal. We're super excited when we saw Cylons on screen. This one has the Ovion. Has Starbuck smoking inside the Viper, which I don't think they're allowed to show characters smoke anymore in comic books. I don't believe Nick Fury even smokes. Frank Miller Daredevil. So they were actually reprinting the Marvel Super Special into 3 issues and added some additional pages to flesh it out to make 3 comics, because they had to buy time in order to make a regular comic book series. And part of that buying time for a regular comic book series was to make another adaptation. This was going to be a 2-issue adaptation of Lost Planet of the Gods, parts 1 and 2. This is one of my favorite covers. I love the depth perception. You really feel like the Viper's coming at you, the Cylons following behind. And this is where we get Walt Simonson and Klaus Janson as artists. Absolutely beautiful. Early Walt Simonson. And he has a sense of grandeur for everything that he does. He understands the concept of storytelling. Amigo Micronauts ad. Micronauts was a running comic book series at the time. It started in 1978. Loved having Micronauts comics. My brother and I read those. I remember having an Incredible Hulk wallet when I was a kid. So here's a advertisement how you can mail away for comics. Daredevil, Thor, Godzilla, Captain America, Incredible Hulk, Avengers, Conan, Fantastic Four, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man. Not many sci-fi crossovers, but they were excited to advertise Star Wars. Now I think this is interesting that they added the characters' names on the helmets, and I think this was to help the reader discern who the different pilots were. We didn't see that in the show. More Twinkies ads, which were common of that time. Planet of the Lost Gods again. Beautiful Walt Simonson cover. And we're finally getting some Battlestar Galactica merchandise advertised here. I would have loved to have these shirts as a kid. $5 each. That's probably around $15 modern day. So we have some shading here. Walt is really coming to his own. As the series progresses, we're going to see that he has the most art duties. Ad for Buck Rogers. Rockets. Starbuck has his name on his helmet. Now this is something you see a lot of what Walt Simonson does. He works with circles. Lots of circles. Gives you the effect of glowing lights. Yeah, that's a good ad. O.J. Simpson. Run like O.J. Does the hat fit though? Star Wars action figure ad. More circles. First appearance of Lucifer. So it's like a knockoff Cylon, or it is the Cylon. Yeah, it's the real Cylon. Looks kind of weird down here. Kryptonite rocks. Movie viewers were still a thing at that time. I remember going to my grandfather's. He had a projector. We watched movies on the wall. I had that. I had a Crossman BB gun, not a Daisy one. So here we have number 6. Number 6 is the first original story. But they're still giving credit on the cover, based on characters and concepts created by Glenn Larson for the television series Battlestar Galactica. And you don't see that in other comics that were adaptations. Buckler and Jansen. Rich Buckler now jumps onto doing the artwork. Even though there are quite a few artists that work on the series, everyone brought something special to it. I like the design here, the layouts. It's at this point forward that the Battlestar Galactica series deviates. The comic deviates from the series. I remember having these guys. I loved them. Glow-in-the-dark brains. Micronauts were a fun toy line. Yep, Mego dolls. Did not have Captain America. Didn't have Green Goblin, but my brother and I had the rest of them. We had the Spider-Man car. Now this is Commander Adama's going into this memory machine. I always think it's weird that they're allowed to advertise DC products in Marvel Comics. Nice in-house ad there. Oh, I love these. I remember playing with that Superman with the rocket ship with the punching arms. Okay, Star Trek the Motion Picture is coming up. Getting ready for that. Yeah, this storyline with Adama going through the memory machine is going to go from 6 to 12. And it's one of those just weird, random things. I don't quite understand it because that means that Adama, for an extended period of time, was not commanding the Galactica. Continue on with Rich Buckler, artist. What's the colorist here? Bob Sharon. Excellent job coloring. Color, it sets the tone a lot for these comics. It's not just to fill in the blanks. We're seeing some unique uses of color. Atypical colors used. That's real nice. Kiss beach towel. Mork. A lot of action there. Number 8. Buckler and Jansen doing the cover. Bill Mantlo is jumping in as a writer. We know Bill Mantlo did a lot of adaptations. Tons of them. He was pretty much known for television and movie adaptations for a while, and toy adaptations as well. ROM Space Knight, Micronauts, anything like that. Now, this is the type of ad my brother and I would just drool over this. We wanted this figure so bad, we never had it. The gold-colored Cylon Centurion. You would get it free, but you had to send in the proof of purchase seals of 4 Battlestar Galactica figures, which I don't quite understand why we never did that, because we had every one of these figures. Every one. How come we didn't save it for? I think maybe we saw the ads after we knew about saving the packages. This is a flashback story. Alice Cooper comic book. I had that as a teenager. Issue number 9 was Pat Broderick artwork. I was a fan of Pat Broderick for many years. He did great work on Green Lantern, on Swamp Thing, Space Mimic. More Shogun Warrior ads. Treasury editions. This is when I would spend tons of times this era just looking at the ads. There was so much to read, so many details. Finally, you get to see Moffat do something. Oh, I love these ads. I would do this as a kid. Gum fighting. A weird combination. Howard the Duck and Dracula. More Pat Broderick art. I like this one. A lot of detail. You could see why he fit in so well doing Swamp Thing, because it has this eerie, organic ooziness about him, his work. Tom DeFalco takes over the script here. I love watching Spider-Woman, all these Saturday morning cartoons, Super Friends, watch them all. Ad for a Millennium Falcon. It's a fun toy. Oh, I love these. This is an exciting time looking at the comics to see what television shows are going to be on Saturday mornings. It's just so strange that comic books now don't do that. Look at that. Kiss, Suzanne Summers, Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. It's all t-shirt designs. Yep. That was a good comic. Rom. Issue number 11. Starbuck gambling. See, I don't think you ever see that in front of a kid comic now. Smoking, gambling. More Walt Simonson art. Walt Simonson's back, which I'm glad. Like, look at this, how dynamic all this is. Lots of text as well. You could spend some time reading this. This is what we see classic Walt Simonson. Very much Jack Kirby-ish in a way. Attention to detail on mechanics, showing the enormity of the ships. Circles, solid circles. He loves doing solid circles. Look at how dynamic this is. Walt Simonson did more penciling for this series than anyone else. A 2-page spread of Star Wars toys. Had nearly everything on here. Let me see. Did not have that. Like these die casts, we were missing some of the die casts. Did not have that. Did not have that. But the other things we had. Love the Stretch Armstrong. Had that model kit. More Hostess ads. Yep, I love that Batmobile. Number 12. Beautiful ship design. Okay. Yeah, that's what I had. I had a Crossman BB gun. Yeah, these Walt Simonson issues are exceptional. The artwork in here. And when you look at who the artists are, Dave Cockrum, Walt Simonson, they went back and forth to Star Wars. So we viewed Battlestar Galactica as kind of sort of Star Wars for television. Even the comic books had crossovers with the creative team. Or Hostess. Yeah, look at that. Look at how dynamic that is. $13. Klaus Janson is one of my favorite inkers, especially for anything that's down to earth and more realistic. Loved him on Daredevil, Punisher. Starfleet Defenders. Okay, so now we're at the era of motion pictures finally coming out. So we saw some ads previously on the back pages. Now we're seeing toys, model kits. Ad for She-Hulk, Lucifer. We're seeing that Starbuck is departing. And who would ever figure that, Starbuck was gone for the comic series for a while, and there's an ad for the motion picture. Just for the sake of time context, Star Trek the Motion Picture comic came out. There were Star Wars comics out, and there's Battlestar Galactica comics. What a great time to be a kid. Daggett. Jim Mooney takes over the layouts now. We're going to see a definitely difference in tone with regards to the artwork. As for the Star Trek motion picture, Mego Toys, Black Hole. It's amazing that Marvel didn't get the license for Black Hole comics. Went to Whitman. Very odd. I think Marvel could have done something with that train wreck of a movie. Oh, great series, King Conan. Issue number 15. Back to Walt Simonson art. Yeah, look at all this. Walt Simonson actually brought you into everything he did that was cosmic was exceptional. Loved his work on Fantastic Four, on Thor. Boy, you read this ad, you'd think that Black Hole is just so exciting until you saw the movie. Isn't that what every kid wanted? It was the Ernest Borgnine action figure. They've been pushing this Hubba Bubba for a while now. See, early on, he was doing outside of panel artwork. That became super popular in the late 80s and early 90s, but you only had a handful of artists doing that. Neil Adams, Jim Steranko. You'll never see that phrase in the comic nowadays. Yeah, it's fantastic. Look at the action in this. So we have Cylon Mark III. I like the text here. It's just too weird for a Cylon. I think there's a point where it's just getting too haywire. First he's advertising sneakers, now he's advertising cowboy boots. Still waiting for the ad with Ginsu knives. Another Star Trek ad, model kits. Issue 17. This almost looks like Red Hulk. Stephen Grant doing the scripts. Walt Simonson and Klaus Janson doing the artwork. Bill Mantlo. That looks just like a Red Hulk. Machine Man. Same ad twice almost. Yeah. Continuing on with this, it's very much like Conan. So this is a 2-issue story arc, which I liked it how they had continuing stories, but it was almost like a series within a series. So the benefit was to read the entire series, but if you're only able to pick up a few issues, you could. Interesting, the next issue is The Return of Starbuck, and we know that that was the title of the last episode of Galactica 1980. This is a really interesting, when you look at the composition of this cover, I like it a lot. This was on every Marvel comic of that time. I remember I have an X-Men comic with that on there. But it reminds me of the cosmic character in Marvel Eternity. So you see a silhouette with space and the Galactica inside there. Very stylistic. The jet stream of the Viper. Walt Simonson. Walt Simonson was a true artist, not an illustrator. He was always looking to break the boundaries. Love these Mile High ads. Love looking over them. I would pore over these ads, just dreaming about all the different comics I could get. You know, everything was $2.50 or less, $6. Some of them, like Avengers number 23, $4. Heroes World, amazing ads. I wanted that Hulk flashlight. Never got it. What a great area of storytelling here. I mean, this is the type of thing that separates Walt Simonson. Issue number 20. We're getting towards the end now. Walt Simonson wrote this. We know that Walt Simonson by the 80s was an incredible writer. Yeah, yep, I still have this X-Men. But all these Marvel comics had that crazy banner on top. Win Toys R Us shopping spree. Okay, now he's advertising cleats. Boy, O.J. Simpson loves these shoes. Still waiting for the Ford Bronco ad he's advertising. Mile High. Epic Illustrated, line for adult comics. Yeah, look at this. This is classic Walt Simonson right here. Just that panel right there. Look how dynamic that is. I see. I would have liked to have seen deep space suits like that on the series. Issue number 21. Brent Anderson as the penciler. It still has Klaus Janson as the inker, where you could see that Klaus as an inker is very distinctive. He has a heavy hand. I love what he can do. Yeah, I wanted these games real badly. Never got them though. This is kind of weird. They had Jolly do some undercover work. Oh, look at these. Look at these cartoons. It's great. Tarzan, Lone Ranger, Adventure Hour. I liked watching that a lot. Drac Pack. Ad for The Empire Strikes Back. These Hostess ads are amazing. If they had a whole book of just Hostess ads, I think I'd buy it. But the end is nigh. Getting towards the end. Look at this beautiful Walt Simonson cover. There's a lot here. Close-up, Apollo, we have Jolly, action scene, then we have a space scene. I mean, the composition of this is beautiful. There's so much depth, so much sense of enormity in space. More cartoon advertisements. I love seeing these in comics. Thundar. Pirates Galore, next issue. Final issue. Last issue, Walt Simonson artwork, really interesting. Space and behind there, main characters in front. They're giving some attention to Jolly, which I like, and they even mentioned last issue collector's item. Traditionally in comic series, the last issue is the harder one to find because it's a lower print run. I mean, look how exciting that splash page is, with how dynamic it is with Jolly. By this time, Battlestar Galactica 1980 was on the air, but even that couldn't save the, that jump forward 20 years or so. This series ended up becoming irrelevant, unfortunately. They weren't able to do anything with it and weren't able to pick up the sales. I think one of the challenges with this series too is they didn't have enough Cylons in it. As a kid, that's what we wanted. There's always more Cylons. And that's it. That's the entire 23-issue run of Battlestar Galactica.